watching S&B Outdoors. Discover the world around you.
Hello guys, and welcome to another S&B Outdoors video. Today we're going to be looking at our gun safety series, where we're going to kind of go through all of the different pieces and aspects of gun safety, as well as talk about how to even get into guns and how to get your son or daughter into hunting and fishing and things like that, like we do, that you see me and my son do, and some of my other daughters will do here on the channel. So, first things first, a lot of people have no idea where to even begin. Like, don't even know, like, I would like to learn how to do this, but have absolutely no idea where to even get started. There's so many different calibers and so many different types of guns and all these different things that are out there, and it can be overwhelming. And I do get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys through how I teach my children about guns and gun safety, as well as gun handling, how to shoot, what the do's and don'ts and all that stuff is, and hopefully we'll get some education out there for everyone and some good rules of what to do and how to treat firearms. All right? So I've tried to kind of make a little list here, so you'll see me referring to my list here to make sure that I stay on track. But what you see is I've got kind of an array of different types of guns here. When I started wanting to teach my children about guns and firearms and things like that, would be around the age of, I don't know, from 6 to 8. Both my youngest started learning it when they were around 8 years old. It took them, I started introducing them to it, basically taking them with me when I would go shooting, just to see how they would feel around, because it is noisy, it is loud, just to see how they would feel about it. I figured since they pop firecrackers and help set off things at 4th of July, it's kind of similar, and that's kind of what I relate to them with. I let them know that it is similar. Now, before that, just to get them used to the whole idea of aiming and stuff, if you have any children at all, you'll know what Nerf guns are, right? You know, everybody has Nerf guns. My kids play with them all the time. So the next upgrade from that would be something that's a little more accurate. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you definitely don't want to discourage somebody that's new. You don't want to give them something that is too difficult or something that is way too large. And this is adults included, not just children, but this goes to adults. I have a clip real quick of somebody that gave a weapon that was way too big, or a firearm, I shouldn't say the W word, a firearm to somebody that had no idea how to handle it and who just basically had a bad time. And this video is upsetting to me, but anyway, it's one that you guys have probably seen. I'll show it to you real quick. Okay, so in that video, there was a young lady that clearly had never fired a firearm ever before, and somebody gave her what appears to be a Desert Eagle. Well, a Desert Eagle is a 50 caliber. It shoots 50 AE. That is a very, very large round. It is a very large gun, and as you can see, if you are not ready for the recoil, you don't realize what you're going to have to manage, and you're not holding it properly, which in the film's fuzzy, but it appears she isn't holding it properly. I really don't like that when people just give something like that to a new person, because what it does is it ends up discouraging them from wanting to do it ever again. It ends up creating people that absolutely dislike guns because it was terrifying. I'm sure that was a very scary experience for her. And they basically it ruins their experience, right? And that's not what, all of us want. We don't want someone to be just ruined on that experience, you know? So people like that do that to other people, that's no good. That is very unwise to do. So it'd be like, for instance, I've got my Raging Judge here. This will shoot 454 Casull. I've cleared this gun, by the way. There is no rounds in it. But it will shoot 454 Casull rounds. That is a very, very large round. I would never give this to a beginner. I would never give it to a to a youngster, of any kind, even probably a teenager, like 18-year-old, I think would have trouble managing the recoil of something like this. So I would never give this to one of them. If they wanted to see it being fired, I would fire it, but so far as them, they would need far more experience before they continued doing something like that. So that's why I would steer clear of that one. So just wanting to get that out of the way. All right, what would be the first thing that I would recommend? I would recommend a simple air rifle. They make these in an array of different sizes, and they're shorter. There's a measurement that you do on guns, a measurement from the trigger to the back of the buttstock here, and we'll have a video that goes over all the different parts of the gun. So don't worry about it if I'm saying the names of everything, trying to remember that, because we'll have a video that details that. But that is called the length of the pull. Okay, so like for me, as you can see, this is pretty short, but it's because it's made for a youth. Okay. My length of pull, my arms are out here, right? But for them, they have short arms, right? So I would say an air rifle. And even for a beginner, there are air rifles that are bigger. This one is a youth one. I think it's a Crossman, if I remember right. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Crossman, that's what this is. So this one's a youth one, very, very simple to operate. You pump it, and so it's just done with air. You can, depending on your state, you want to read your state laws. The state that I live in allows the discharge of air rifles in an urban setting. So in your backyard, basically. If you live in the suburbs or something like that, you can do that. That's my state. You want to check with your state laws, because I don't think there are certain states that don't allow that. So you want to check your state laws to see if it's you're able to fire this. Otherwise, you'll need to go to maybe some sort of a range or something like that. But check your laws, and I'm sure they'll have suggestions for where to go. But this is a very, very simple, not highly lethal alternative to get started with. There is there just isn't. There is no kick to it. There is no recoil to manage. It's very, very nice. It's not very loud. This is a great starter to start with. If you're looking at more of a pistol, okay, and you want to stay along the same lines, maybe you want the air rifle type, where it's air powered, and if you live in a state like mine, where you can discharge one within city limits. Oh, and that's another thing. Let me say that real quick. Also, check your city guidelines, because the state may allow it, but the city you live in may not allow it. So check both. So check your state laws and check your locality's laws, whether you're in a township or the city limits or whatever it is. Check those. But another alternative is, and I know what you're thinking, this looks like an actual Glock, but they make these are actually really cool. This is actually an air rifle, and to show you that, take the clip out, but I can take the back off of it, and there is the air cartridge. It takes these CO2 cartridges, which I have down here, which is basically a little compressed cylinder with compressed CO2 inside. You put that in there. You have basically the back plate that snaps back on, so that way it puts the handle back together so you can get a hold of it. It has a little magazine here that you fill this full of BBs. It goes in, and all you have to do is you pull the trigger. That's it. But it is kind of neat because it looks like a Glock. Nice thing about the air replicas that I will say that like this is that you can find tons of Glock 19 holsters. So if not even for beginners, if even seasoned veterans of firearms want to practice maybe their draw at home, and you live in a state and a city that allows it, you can buy a holster for this, and it feels and looks exactly the same as a Glock 19. And you can practice your drawing, you can practice your dry fire. Well, it's not really dry fire because it has BBs in it, but you can practice with it, which is a great alternative, especially in this ammo crisis that we're having right now. This is still 2021, and there is no ammo to be found. Well, sort of, but the ammo prices are outrageous right now because there's so little of it. Supply and demand. This is a wonderful alternative. And also, there is no recoil with this. It is not very loud. So, air is fantastic for beginners, all right? Now, let's say you want to step it up a little bit. You want to get into an actual firearm, not just a air rifle or air pistol. You want to get into an actual firearm. The best that I would suggest to start with would be a pistol, because generally they are very small. If your son, like my son, when he was 8 years old and he really wanted to get into it, he was still kind of small, and so even holding a rifle or something was kind of a challenge because it was heavy. Now you could mitigate that by putting it on a bench or something like that, you know, whatever you want to do. But some great alternatives is firing a pistol. In fact, he fired a pistol for the first time ever. That was his first firearm he ever shot. We had gotten him a rifle, which I'll take a break and I will go get it because I don't have it out here yet, but I will show you a good rifle for beginners as well. But it was a little too big. He couldn't kind of hold it up very well because he was still, my son was kind of small. He's better now. He can shoot everything now, but back then he was a little bit too little. So any case, so what we did was I got him. This is a great firearm for beginners. This is a 22 caliber, so it is a very small projectile. And that's what I was about to say is 22s would be the next step from an air rifle. It would be 22 caliber firearms. So this guy is a fantastic one. This is the Beretta M9 chambered in 22 long rifle. It takes a clip in the bottom. Of course, as you can see, I have it open and I don't have a clip in it. But what's fantastic about this gun is it is exactly the same form factor, size, trigger, racking, everything is exactly the same as the 92 FS, which is basically this exact gun, but it's 9mm. So you kind of have an upgrade path. You can buy this, get proficient with this as they get bigger, their hands get bigger, they get stronger, they can manage recoil better. You can upgrade to the 9mm version of this, and it's literally the exact same gun. Okay, they did that on purpose. Okay, so this was the first gun my son ever shot, was this Beretta M9. The nice thing about it is it does not break the bank. I think it was somewhere around $300, maybe $300, $400. It's not some $1,000 gun. It's not some crazy expensive thing. But yet Beretta is good quality. I really enjoy them. They do a really good job. So I would recommend this guy at first. Now, one little higher price, but still very, very well made, very good gun, is a Ruger Mark IV. That is this one. The Ruger Mark IV is still a 22 caliber pistol, okay? The nice thing I like about it is it does have this Picatinny rail, which we'll get into what all that is. So, but basically you can mount optics and different things to it to help you acquire targets better, but it does come with iron sights already on it. Same with this one, it comes with sights as well. What's nice about this one is it does have a threaded barrel, so if in the future you wanted to add a suppressor to it, you can. But the really nice thing about this one is when you want to clean it, it is as easy as pressing a button and it comes apart. And then it goes right back together. That's it. And that's how the gun works. Very, very, very simplistic design, very lightweight. I enjoy it a bunch. My son enjoys it a bunch, but it's a 22. So the recoil is not much at all. It is pretty much, I mean, it does have, this does not have recoil. This has a slight recoil, okay? So that way it's not overbearing. It's not gonna throw it over their head. It's not gonna pull it out of their hands. It's very, very light. The sound on 22s is not very loud. Like I said, if your kids can light firecrackers and let them go off, or they can sit outside with the big fireworks that go boom in the sky, those are actually probably like double, if not triple, the loudness that a 22 will be, okay? So let's move on to rifles. So I'll be right back and I'm gonna grab one. Okay guys, so we've got one of these. No, she's not gonna eat. She said that she wasn't hungry.
What?
I don't know.
How come I have too much food?
Well, I'll be up in a minute. Okay guys, so I brought up one of these 22 long rifles. This is a full rifle, okay? And how it works, this is a Browning lever action, which means there's a lever here. Again, we're going to go over all the different parts of a gun and all the different pieces and things in later videos. But this is a lever action Browning. Okay, so you can see it's empty. This is a 22. It is really lightweight, but like I said, my son he was kind of small at the time, so he had a little bit of trouble holding it up. But that's okay. That's totally okay. I highly recommend, as you can see, we have a scope, we have an optic on this one. I highly recommend teaching iron sights first. It comes standard, you can't really tell, but it's right here. There's iron sights on this first. I always teach my children to shoot using the iron sights on the gun itself. And then once they get proficient with that, then I upgrade them to the scope where they can then shoot pretty far distances with a lot of ease. But I highly recommend the iron sights to start with. Iron sights on everything. Iron sights on the gun. If you go with the Mark IV, do resist the temptation to put a red dot on it, because I know red dots are awesome. It's an optic that allows you a little dot, and anything you put the dot on, that's where you're going to hit. I know it's really it's tempting to put that on there because it has the rail that supports it, but really, trust me, if you're just getting started, use the iron sights. That's the way to go. But it would be a perfectly awesome rifle for a beginner. I have shot so many. I actually went bobcat hunting with this exact well, not this exact one. I have one that's a Browning that's just like this, that was from my childhood, and then this is my son's version that's his. But it was pretty much the same gun. But I actually went bobcat hunting and shot bobcats with this gun. So yes, you can hunt with it. No, it has hardly any recoil. No, the sound, believe it or not, the pistol is louder than this is. My son was actually kind of shocked when he shot this for the first time, because he thought, oh, it's this big scary gun, right? I mean, that's what lots of people think, ooh, big scary gun, right? And he realized, so he was kind of afraid of this one, but he wasn't that afraid of shooting a little gun like this. It didn't seem so scary. And then when he finally shot this one, he realized that this does not make nowhere near the noise that this one makes. And this one has like virtually no recoil. Like you can barely feel it come back. Whereas this, it has a little bit because the slide moves around. And I think that's the main recoil that you feel, is the slide going back and forth to eject the casing and pull a new shell in. Whereas this one you just don't feel anything happen with it. So it was kind of funny. Big scary gun, little fine gun, but this one actually has a little bit more recoil and is quite a bit louder than this one. Which, looks aren't everything, ladies and gentlemen. Looks are not everything. Things may look scary, but they actually are just fine, right? Sometimes it's the little one you got to watch out for. I'm just kidding. Any case, that is a very good rifle to go with. Is a 22 long rifle. Now, shotguns. A lot of us love shooting shotguns. I know lots of people shoot sporting clays and things like that. They want to get their kids into that. But how do you give a kid a shotgun that's not going to just, beat them mercilessly, right? I see lots of people giving their kids 12 gauge shotguns, and I mean, it's just too much, guys. I mean, let's be honest, it just is. Now, I know what most people try to do with shotguns. The bigger the gauge, the more BBs are going out, basically. So think of it this way. If I draw a circle like this and I put BBs all in it, and I throw it at a target that's about that same size, I have to be pretty accurate, right? I got to be pretty right on that target to hit it. Now, that's about what lower or smaller gauges put out, is really small patterns. If I have a pattern that's this big and my target is only this big, well, I can be off, right? I can be off, quite a few inches, but still hit it, right? So there's this conundrum that is drawn with shotguns, is we don't want to give some brand new shooter something that's really going to recoil and hurt them. But yet at the same time, we want to build their confidence and have them, be able to actually hit stuff. So you kind of want to give them the bigger gauge so that they can be off and still hit things. But yet what what comes with the bigger gauge is that it's going to recoil more, and so that could make the new shooter worried or scared, or it could actually hurt them. So we don't want to do that, right? So the best that I can do, and it is kind of handicapping, but to me, I feel like the confidence building you can do as the person supporting them, whether it be you're the father, the mother, or you're a good friend, or whatever the relationship is. I feel like you can give the encouragement to get better at it, and I think suppressing the recoil is probably the better route to go, because we don't want it to be painful and we don't want it to be scary, right? Now it can be challenging, and that's fine, but we don't want it to be scary, right? So a 410 shotgun is great. This one is a Remington Model 870, which is a pump action. As you can see, it's a pump, so you have to run that action back and forth each time you want to bring a new shell in, okay? But it is a very small gauge. Like I said, it's actually a 410, which does not mean 410, it means .410. So it is a very small gauge. Generally, the reason I have this one is it's very, very good for teal hunting, actually. But in any case, this definitely can kill. When I was a young man, I have shot ducks with this. My son went pheasant hunting with this gun and was knocking them down. I even have videos of that. He was knocking down pheasants with these, okay? So, I mean, this is a real route. You can go, a real shotgun, you can go hunting with it, okay? So, the thing about it, though, is it was the length of pole, like I was talking about, was way too long, because this was for an adult. So what we ended up doing is we actually ended up cutting the stock down, actually, and shaving it down. Cool thing about it is nowadays you can buy stocks with different length of poles. You'll look for LOP is for shorts, and that stands for length of pole, okay? So you're going to want a stock that's somewhere around a 12-inch or 10-inch length of pole for a youngster, for somebody that's 8, 9, 10 years old. You're going to want something around 10, 12 inches, okay? Now, the cool thing is, they sell them all over the place. You can find them, you can even find them on Amazon. I was shocked when I was doing the research for this video. Amazon even had stocks. So you can go on Amazon, find them, and if it needs to be a little bit shorter, cut it down, right? There's very little recoil in these. This one is chambered for 3-inch long shells, but what I would recommend is do the 2 3/4 shell, okay? The smaller shell, because it's not gonna have as much oomph behind it, okay? It will be similar to the 22 long rifle, okay, recoil-wise, if you use the 2 3/4 shells in one of these 410 shotguns. So therefore, they don't have to be afraid of it. They also make kick pads, which is a little rubber pad. This one doesn't have one, but they do make them. So if the recoil is still, it bothers them, the new shooter, you can add a kick pad to it and it softens that up. It makes it kind of squishy so it doesn't hurt. But these basically have the same recoil as that 22 long rifle, so it shouldn't be a bad deal at all. Should not be frightening or scary. The loudness of it, about the same. I'd say it's probably a little louder than a 22. That was always my son's thing. That's the reason I'm concentrating on the audible side of it. My son was always, is it loud? Is it loud? You know, right? Because little kids, you know, loud noises scare them. I mean, it just does, right? So I always like to give that out there, that this is just a little bit louder than the 22 long rifle. So I would probably say it's about the same loudness as one of these. Maybe a hair louder. But let me tell you, if your son or daughter is like my sons or daughters and they run around lighting artillery shells on 4th of July, they'll be fine. It'll be fine. And so that's the encouragement I give. Okay, so those are some of my recommendations for first-time shooter. Is I would start with air. Air is the first thing. Air pistols, air rifles. I would start with air and BBs. You can get pellet rifles, things like that, but you know, pellet rifles, you know, you run the risk of your kids trying to kill birds and things like that, and you don't want to do that. So BBs, BB guns, BB pistols, okay? And then once they're proficient with that, then we'll upgrade to 22s. And I would say probably the 22 pistol, then the 22 rifle, okay? And I would go that route. Then, if you're wanting to get them into shotguns, they feel comfortable with the sound and the recoil of these two, then I'd get them into a 410 shotgun, right? It's gonna be a small pattern, so they're gonna have to be really accurate, but let me tell you, you'll be glad that you did, because the best thing you want is you don't want them to flinch. If they get to where they're scared of the gun, they'll flinch and they'll miss every time. They'll jerk when they pull the trigger. And if you're wanting them to get really good and they want to get really good, you don't want to give them something that's going to be hurting them to where they're scared of it coming back, because then they just won't ever be accurate. So, any case, take those stair steps. Start when they're somewhere around, or at least start asking if they're interested somewhere. If we're talking children, around, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, and you just let them figure it out. Don't force them into it. I always would take my son's 22 rifle. And the pistol with us when we go out to the woods to just play and whatnot. And I'd always ask him if he wanted to shoot him. And he would want to, but then when he kind of got it in his hands, it was kind of like, well, I'm kind of scared to. And my response was always, hey, if you don't feel like it, we'll go whittle sticks, we'll go build a fire, we'll still play in the woods. Just, if you want to, it's here, right? And like I said, it took him, I started when he was about 7 years old, taking him to the woods and showing him things and taking the guns with us. And yeah, he like I said, he would start to mess with it, but then it would be a little scary. So just, hey, it'll be okay. You just don't be pushy with them. And after that, once he was 8 years old, he was a little older, and he had this gun, and he was a little nervous about firing it. And I asked him to just shoot one round. If it was too scary, then he could put it down. We'd do whatever, but at least fire one round. And of course, he shot one round, and then he wanted to shoot it again, and again, and again. And then it got to the point where I couldn't keep bullets in the gun. So, in any case, I hope, guys, I'm sorry this may have taken a long time, but I really wanted to give you a thorough explanation, a thorough go-through of the different types of beginner weapons that are out there. Or I shouldn't say weapon, beginner firearms and air rifles that are out there. So that way you guys can get people interested in this hobby. It is a fun hobby. If you do it right, you stay safe, it is absolutely a ball. You will enjoy it, the people around you will enjoy it, and everybody will be safe. So guys, stay safe out there. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.